Here's how I made a Space Marine version of Boss from Republic Commandos. My brother gave me the idea of making a Republic Commando kill team, and Boss was a great place to start. I'm going to try to emulate the pose of the cover art of the game. My first attempt wasn't great. I brought in some Space Marine files, attached some packs to it, and brought in an arm that was relatively straight. The fact that the hand wasn't pointing with 2 fingers was driving me crazy, so I took a step back. The torso was also an area that was lacking. I was thinking too hard about it.
Do you have a better idea?
Yes, I do.
I was trying to make a Republic Commando Space Marine, so why not just use an actual Republic Commando torso? I found a file online and started to isolate the torso. Amazingly, whoever made the file didn't combine the objects together, so all I had to do was select the model, go into edit mode, press P, and then separate by loose parts. I could then select the parts I didn't need and delete them. The only cutting needed was for the legs, and I used a Boolean difference to cut them off. And I know, going into edit mode and selecting vertices is way better. I now had all of these open spaces that would ruin the print. So I selected the model, went into edit mode, and while holding down Shift plus Alt, clicked one of the edges I wanted to fill, then pressed F to fill. I then joined the objects and exported the new torso. Then I found a Republic Commando helmet file on Thingiverse, and since it was a tad bit large, scaled it down. I wanted to make sure the torso didn't have any issues, so I opened up a program called Meshmixer to remesh it. And for whatever reason, when I use the Make Solid feature in Blender to do the same thing, it crashes my computer. So I use Meshmixer. After that, I imported and scaled the new torso. In order to make this guy read a little bit more as a Space Marine, I brought in some shoulder pads, which I ended up switching for some different ones, and a backpack. Next was to fix the hand that was bothering me so much. I found an unrigged, posable Space Marine hand and moved the pieces around until it matched the look of the cover art. And since I was already posing the hand, I thought it was a good idea to go ahead and do the same with some arms. This would give me way more freedom to get a pose I wanted. In order to make this video not 2 hours long, rigging arms is going to have to be its own video. Once I posed the 2 arms, I imported them, and thankfully I no longer needed to be triggered by the old pointing hand. I also replaced the old shoulder pads with something that I found more interesting. Next, I needed a shooting hand, so I cut off one from an existing arm with boxes. I brought in a bolter I liked and moved it into place. I cut off the scope and replaced it with the one I made in my previous Space Marine Kitbash video. As you know, I'm a big fan of cool gun attachments. The one up to bat this time is an IR illuminator. Whenever sculpting, it's great to have a reference image up, and before you say it, it is not cheating. To make the main body of the object, I brought in a box, made it a rectangle, and then added a bevel modifier. Then I went into edit mode and turned on the X-ray mode. This makes it so you can select all the vertices, not just the ones you can see. Then I cut it in half. It has all of these open faces that we need to close, so I pressed Shift plus Alt and selected one of the edges, and then pressed F to fill. Then I brought in some simple shapes, then I placed in the main geometry that I saw in the reference images. This is going to be really small, so I wasn't too worried about adding too much detail. I used Boolean differences to make indents and tried to reuse objects where I could. For some reason, when I grouped it, the object would scale really strangely. So to fix this, you can do what we did for the torso. Go into Meshmixer and remesh the object. Just make sure to keep the original one somewhere in your Blender project in case you need to fix or change something. I also made a really simple suppressor with some simple cylinder shapes. I ended up using different legs, but it was the same idea. I added a sidearm and some pouches, and the digital Kitbash was done. I'm extremely proud with how it turned out. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Would you be interested in seeing all the Delta Squad made? Let me know. Alright, bye-bye.